Doubles. Nice to see you again on this Monday. The Riders are 6-1, my friend. 8 sacks. How do you, what's your take on the game? We're a little bit too close at the end, wasn't it?
I figured most people will feel that way. Going into it when we spoke last week, I don't think we knew at the time that Cody was going to start. So maybe I would have had a different perspective on the game if I would have known that. But look, a win's a win. And this Edmonton team, they came in and they fought. And, if you would have told Edmonton early in the week that they would hold the Riders to 21 points, and, they would take that at any given day of the week. So, I was just glad to see the D-line finally get after the quarterback and cause some havoc in the backfield. But, like we said, the game was way too close. But win's a win, and we'll take it moving forward.
Do you like Cody then back there? Do you like Cody sticking with it would you stick with him if you were the Elks?
You know what? I think Cody's just better for this offense. I think they know what to do at Trey Ford. It seems like they want to be a drop back passing team, and I don't know if that fits the strengths of Trey Ford. He needs more RPO, more quarterback draws, getting on the outside, sprint out, rollouts, things where he can use his legs. But when you put him in the pocket, I think you put him at a disadvantage. So, moving forward, I think that if they're going to continue with this same offensive plan, then Cody's the best bet.
Okay, my last question, and let Greg go for a few here. I got to ask. That little pirouette move that Cody does, and then he comes back, and there's a guy almost like hiding. It's almost like the old flag or touch football sleeper play where a guy just hangs out on the sideline. Is there any way that that's a set play?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I mean, look, that pirouette drill, that's just something us quarterbacks, we drill all the time in the off season, in practice. That's just how we do it. So, Cody's just perfected it. And a lot of the times he can find guys wide open. So kudos to Cody for just taking what he learned in practice and bringing it to game time action.
Obviously, this was Cody's first game back against the Riders. He couldn't play here in Montreal. So what's that like coming back to what used to be friendly confines that's now not so friendly confines?
It's not easy. I mean, there's a lot. Look, when you play for Saskatchewan, you know that you're playing in front of the best fans in the league. You know you have the best fan base. You know the support is not like any other city in the CFL. So when you leave, especially when you leave on terms that are not on your own, you're fired up to come back. You want to prove them wrong. So it's not easy. You have to really control your emotions, and the crowd is going to be a factor. You know that you're going to have to be on a silent cadence, and it is difficult. So you can pencil in 1 or 2 pre-snap penalties a game, and that doesn't help with field position. But you're fired up to come and play, but you also know that it's one of the toughest places to play in the league.
What does Darian Durant do when he's looking up at the lights 8 times in a game?
Man, it's not a good feeling. I'll tell you that. I'm that he would have liked for the running backs to get more than 4 or 5 carries as well. I think they became very predictable, and they relied on Cody to drop back way too much. And whenever a defensive line can just put their hand in the dirt and come after the passer and not have to worry about the run game, then this is what you're going to get. So you want to see some more balance, especially if you want to keep guys healthy. And it's not fun when you get planted that many times. I tell you that.
What it seemed to me that Edmonton was giving Trevor the corner routes. He was looking down on a slant across the middle, or maybe a shallow dig, and then he was really going to those corner routes. Is that just something that, obviously, with the Edmonton defense that was there all game?
Yeah, I mean, when you play man coverage, especially man free with the safety in the middle of the field, then you're going to get those corner routes. That's going to be your number one option. And Edmonton has a bunch of young DBs. They don't really understand the game too much, and as they progress, they'll learn how to defend that. But good job by the Riders at taking advantage of it. You become predictable when you're in second and medium situations or when you're in blitz situations, and you can expose the defensive looks that Edmonton gave. So I don't think that Edmonton really mixed up their coverages too much. They really it looked like they wanted to come up and challenge the Rider receivers, and they didn't think that they could win that matchup. So the Riders showed, especially with Sam Emilus back in the lineup, that he's ready to take advantage of any man-on-man situation. So Trevor recognized and took advantage of all the man-to-man looks that Edmonton gave him.
Trevor obviously is really healthy this year. Bo Levi Mitchell's looking healthy. What are you thinking about Vernon Adams? Until he got knocked out of the game last week, has been playing very well.
He barely got hit. That was really weird, though, right? Like he barely got hit in the head, but he was definitely dazed.
Yeah, he definitely looked a little starry-eyed. What do you think of the quarterback play in the league so far this year?
I think it's been. I mean, look at the upper echelon guys. They've been doing exactly what you expect them to do. They're leading their team up and down the field. With Hamilton's 0-2 start, I think they were kind of shaky, or fans were wondering, just like last year, they were writing Bo off a little bit early, but he's shown that, you give him some weapons and he can bounce back tremendously. I always felt like with Scott Milanovich, as your OC and your coach, that he's going to put you in good situations. So I've expected this from Bo. Nathan Rourke has been solid, VA's been solid, and Trevor has been Trevor. So, across the league, the guys have really, really been playing good football, and that's what you expect from a group of veteran guys.
And again, it looks like possibly Samuel Emilus injured. We don't know. We'll get more on that tomorrow. But here we go again with the not the revolving door, but the group of receivers. Who are we going to see? Tommy Neal. Are we going to see him step up? Are we going to see young Mims in the lineup now? Because it looks like Kean Schaefer-Baker's still out. I guess a wealth of receivers, Darian, for Trevor and the offense to kind of just keep doing what we're doing, pick it apart. There isn't that one guy, which is a massive benefit right now for what the Riders are facing.
Absolutely. Depth is key. And, kudos to J.O. for making sure he has the receiver position stacked, because, when you have two key guys and two of the, some of the best guys in the league go down, and really you don't miss a beat. It's just a great situation. But, going on the road and the season is going to get tougher as we progress, and there's going to be some tough road games. You need these veteran guys like Schaefer-Baker and Sam Emilus in the lineup to be in these situations. And going into Montreal, you're going to be using some silent cadence. You're going to need some veteran guys who know how to time up the waggle and get into position against Noel Thorpe's zone defense. So it's going to be interesting to see how these young guys, how they react to a road game this week. At home, it's a little bit easier. You can get that extra time in the playbook the night before the game, the morning of the game. You can wake up and go to the stadium and get in your playbook a little bit. But when you're on the road, it's a totally different environment. So we'll see how they, stack up against this Montreal defense this week.
I set this bear trap for Luke. I'm going to see how you wander around it. Why are games so hard to win in Montreal?
First of all, it's always early in the year and the humidity. I mean, it's so hot and humid there in Montreal. You have to factor in the cross-country flight as well. And, Noel Thorpe. I mean, Noel Thorpe is such a great defensive coordinator who always seems to overlook when it comes to getting ahead coaching job. But I mean, he's a hell of a coach, and me being in Montreal for that 1 year and going against him every single day, you don't really don't let me say you don't get an understanding, but when you play against Montreal once or twice a year, it's a little bit different. He may throw a look or two at you, but when you're practicing against him, now you see everything that he has in his playbook. You see everything that he's going to throw at different teams across the league. And he's one of the best. So, you have to look at that Montreal defense and what Noel Thorpe brings to the table. And that's a major factor as to why it's hard to play out there.
Why hasn't he gotten a shot yet? He seems to be always in the conversation for head coaching. He just hasn't gotten the call yet. Why is that?
You know what? I wish I could answer that question. I would love to see him get a shot. I think he's a hell of a coach. I think he's shown or done more in his career than some head coaches across the league now. So it's a very good question. I wish I had the answer for it. But if he continues to do what he's doing, and that's just having success, his team is, I think, Montreal's second in the league in scoring defense. Year in and year out, he is one of the toughest defenses to go against. So I think sooner than later he'll get a shot, but I wish I had an answer for that. I have no idea why he hasn't gotten the opportunity.
I see. I would have thought it would have been the crowd noise and the horns, and then Luke said the Crescent Street flu.
No, he said St. Catherine. He said it was St. Catherine.
Yeah. I mean, you can also put that into a factor. I mean, when you stay downtown Montreal and you get a free night, and it's unlike the nightlife is unlike any other CFL city, so that may play a factor into it as well. I wouldn't know too much because I was in the room, but
that's right.
I could definitely see that being a factor as well.
Dale in Melfort wants to know what Darian is seeing with Zach Collaros in Winnipeg.
Man, Zach just can't seem to stay healthy. I don't know. Even in Toronto, I think he took a vicious hit from Odell Willis back in the day. And, sometimes when you get concussed and it's a serious concussion, it seems like the slightest hit just brings back those symptoms, right? So I just think that it may be a head injury from the past that just keeps getting aggravated. It keeps coming back because, when he leaves the game, he takes a shot, but it never looks to be a head shot. It never looks like it's, all that serious anyway. So I'm just thinking that, it just may be a situation where he's just has these lingering effects from previous injuries. And, look, these hits add up, and Zach's no spring chicken, man. He's been in the league a long time. He's taken some brutal hits in the past, and these things add up. So I think it's just a combination of everything. The past, he tries to rush back. I think he knows that he's the best shot for his team to win, and with the situation they're in, he can't take a lot of time off, man. I like Strevler, but I just don't think that he brings the same experience and the same intangibles to the table that Zach does. And this Winnipeg team knows that in order for them to win, they need Zach in the lineup. And sometimes I think they rush him back.
Okay, what do you think? This is for me. What do you think about what Bo's doing in Hamilton, playing some of his best ball of his career?
Man, I don't know why Winnipeg would even. I can't think of the receiver at the time. Kenny Lawler. I just don't understand, how you can let him go and let Hamilton get another weapon like Kenny Lawler, man. And these weapons that they have, Naaman Roosevelt, who is one of the good receivers in this league, is coaching those guys. You mix that in with Scott Milanovic, who is just one of the brightest offensive minds I've ever known. The combination of these things, it just makes it easy for Bo. I mean, if you look at yesterday, the BC defense tried to take away everything deep, and I'm sure Scott was in Bo's ear. Just take the underneath throw. Just take what you see. Don't rush it. Don't be patient in the pocket and take what they give you. So whenever you have a coach that has played the position that can constantly remind you of what to do and what to look for, and Bo's no bad player in himself. Former league MVP, MOP, former Grey Cup champion. I mean, he knows what to do. So it's just a combination of things put together that makes Bo so good and makes this Hamilton team legit.
So I think it's easy to say they are the best team in the East right now. Who's second, though? Ottawa is not looking good. I'm surprised Bobby Dice made it out of the bye week. Montreal, Davis Alexander's hurt. Kelly's on the 6th game.
I still think Montreal is a good team.
I'm not sold on MBT. I'm not sold on MBT.
Bethel,
I'm sorry.
Thompson. Anyone with 3 names, you got to get a little bit of respect. I still think they're not bad.
Yeah, look, of course, Hamilton's at the top right now, but I wouldn't say that Hamilton's a better football team than Montreal. I mean, even with McLeod, Bethel Thompson at the quarterback position, I still think Montreal is very dangerous. They went in and beat who we all look at as probably the best team in the league in Calgary, even though VA didn't finish the game. I mean, they still went into Calgary and won that game. So you have to give them credit for that. And even though Hamilton's hot right now, I'm still not ready to say that they're a better football team overall than Montreal.
Okay. I needed to ask you this. We talked about it earlier. What is Darian Durant's take when you hear people call the CFL amateur or, lack of a better term, bush league?
Well, first and foremost, I get it. I mean, a lot of people who say that don't have exposure to the league. They don't follow the league, and they don't understand that, there's some of the best athletes, I feel, that may not get an NFL opportunity. That's why they're in the CFL. So I just look at it as ignorance for the most part. There are tons of guys who I feel like, if given an opportunity, could play in the NFL. I mean, the NFL is a numbers game, right? If the rosters aren't that big, so there's not a lot of developmental spots. And I think that, the CFL gets a ton of guys who can play in that league. So I don't understand it. I think it's, like I said, I think it's ignorance on their part. I think it's just people throwing words out there. But there's no way in hell that the CFL is a bush league. It's some of the best athletes you'll be around. You see Kenny Lawler, who I think could play on any NFL team, one of the best 50-50 ball guys I've ever seen. And you look at that interception and last week this past week in BC, that's one of the best plays you'll see in football, period. So
that's what I was going to next. Yeah. I wanted to get your take on Robert Carter Jr. here.
Yeah, that's just amazing. I mean, the athleticism, the ability to track the ball, and then the hands to bring that in with one hand is just amazing. So if you don't think that these plays or these players can play in the NFL, then people are crazy. I just don't understand it.
As a quarterback, when you see a guy make that play and picks you off, do you get mad or you go, okay, next one?
Tip your hat.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You just grab your brim and tip your hat to a guy who makes a play like that. Look, guys play DB for a reason, right? They don't have the best of hands. I'm sure they grew up, playing either receiver or DB, but then as they got older, they had to settle in at DB because they weren't consistent with their catching. But for a DB to go out and make a pick like that, you just have to tip your hat to him, and that's a hell of a play.
I don't know what year it is. Colson, figure it out. What year was the Odell Beckham catch that kind of started this? Because you watch a lot of amateur football. I don't know if you coach, but even coaching up here and over, the last 8-10 years, how kids want to make those one-handed catches. We saw it in the NFL flag tournament, that kid from Florida. Unbelievable. Yeah. But isn't it how it kind of changed from that, where now they're practicing grabbing that ball, Darian, with one hand? If I would put you in a time machine and take you back 20 years and you did that in practice, people would think that you're some sort of Martian.
Yeah, absolutely. They drilled these one-hand plays, whether it's a high ball, low ball, outside of your range, you name it. Coaches teach this stuff these days, and it's just because you just never know what body position you'll be in on a particular play. You never, and then back in the day, I don't want to say back in the day, but we were a little more old school. We didn't practice these things. It was kind of like a natural reaction. But I think the more and more you practice these type of plays, you're seeing it just on every level now. It's become a part of the game. So you have to practice it, because that's a game-changing play, right? That play could have won or lost that game. So, you just never know what situation you'll be in and when you may need to use one hand to grab the ball. And, I think the more and more we see the game evolve, coaches are starting to realize that one play can change the game. One play determines whether you're fired or you get an extension at the end of the year. So you better practice all of these things.
Can confirm that Regina Thunder do practice one-handed catches. I've watched them do those drills a few times, and Odell Beckham was in 2014.
2024. See, I was going
November 23rd, 2014 against Darian's Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. When I coach my kids and I'd be like, okay, try and do it without the gloves on. Then you're going to impress me. And then I say, well, we weren't allowed to wear gloves back in our day. I lie to them. even though we had Newmans and Stickum. We still couldn't pull that off. Doubles. That's amazing.
Stickum, huh?
Hey, why is this ball all sticky?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, good stuff. Let's see what happens in Montreal. We'll catch up next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.